I never believed in sleep paralysis. I'd heard of it, sure. Stories online, some urban legends, stuff my cousin used to scare me with during sleepovers. But to me, it always sounded like a dream. A bad one, yeah, but still just a dream. That changed during the summer after I graduated college. I'd just moved into my first real apartment, tiny one-bedroom place in a quiet part of town. Rent was cheap, and the building had seen better days. Faded wallpaper, thin walls, creaky floors, but it was mine. For the first time, I was living alone. No roommates, no parents, just me and whatever I could afford to cram into the 400 square feet of that place. The first week was uneventful. I worked part-time at a bookstore and spent most nights watching TV or unpacking. Nothing weird, nothing scary. In fact, I remember thinking how peaceful it was. I liked the silence. But then the dreams started. The first one came out of nowhere. I went to bed around 11 p.m., completely normal night. I remember turning off the lights and pulling the covers up. And then, almost instantly, I opened my eyes. Only I couldn't move. At first, I thought I was just groggy, maybe still half asleep. But the longer I stared at the ceiling, the more I realized something was wrong. I was wide awake. I could see my room, exactly how it looked before I fell asleep. I could hear the ticking of my cheap plastic wall clock, the distant hum of the fridge in the other room. But I couldn't move a single muscle. Then I heard it. A creak. Somewhere near the foot of my bed. I couldn't turn my head, but I could move my eyes. And I saw it, this dark shape, rising slowly from the floor at the end of my bed. It looked like a person. No features, no face, just this tall, black silhouette, darker than the darkness around it. It didn't speak. It didn't move toward me. It just stood there, watching. I tried to scream, to shift, to even twitch, but my body wouldn't respond. I felt like I was drowning in my own skin. And then it leaned in. The thing didn't walk. It didn't move like a person would. It sort of hovered, its shape stretching unnaturally as it loomed over me. I could feel the weight of its presence. The air in the room got heavier. My ears started to ring. And then, just when I thought I was going to pass out from sheer terror, it was gone. I shot up, gasping for breath. My sheets were soaked in sweat, my heart pounding so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. At the time, I brushed it off. A nightmare, I told myself. Stress, too much caffeine. Maybe I had fallen asleep with the TV on and dreamt something. That's all. But the next night, it happened again. Same thing. Fell asleep, woke up frozen. And the figure was back, this time standing closer. Still featureless, still silent. But now, I could feel its eyes. Not see them, feel them. Like they were burning holes through my skull. It stayed longer that time. I remember feeling like I was about to die. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. I was sobbing silently, tears rolling down my cheeks as this thing just loomed there, inches from my face. When I finally woke up, I couldn't stop shaking. I called out of work that day. I couldn't focus, couldn't eat. All I could think about was what had just happened. I started doing research. That's when I found the term, sleep paralysis. And everything clicked. The waking but unable to move, the hallucinations, the shadow people. Apparently, it was a documented phenomenon. Science said it was just your body being caught between sleep stages. Perfectly normal, they said. Normal? That didn't explain how real it felt, how the room looked exactly the same every time, or why the figure was always in the same place, or how it was getting closer. I started dreading sleep. I'd stay up until 3, 4 in the morning, watching Netflix on my laptop just to keep my brain distracted. But exhaustion would always win. And when I finally gave in, I'd find myself paralyzed again, trapped, vulnerable, and every time the figure came. After about a week of this, I started noticing things during the day, too. I'd come home from work and find my closet open when I knew I'd closed it. Lights would flicker. Once I found my bedroom window open, wide open, even though I never touched it. I lived on the third floor. I told myself it was just paranoia, sleep deprivation messing with my mind, but then came the worst night. It started like all the others. I fell asleep around midnight and woke up just after 3 a.m., frozen, eyes open. Room pitch black except for the faint glow of a streetlight through my blinds. The figure was already there, but this time, it wasn't at the foot of my bed. It was next to me, kneeling. Its face, if you could call it that, was inches from mine. Still featureless, still shadow-like, but now I could feel its breath. It was icy, rhythmic. And then, God, I heard it speak. It didn't use words, not really. It was more like thoughts being forced into my skull, emotions, ideas. You're mine now. You can't leave. You invited me. I wanted to scream, cry, anything. But then it placed a hand on my chest, and I stopped breathing. For a few seconds, maybe longer, I genuinely thought I was going to die. The weight, the pressure, the fear, it was too much. I saw black spots in my vision. I felt my limbs go numb. And then suddenly, I gasped, sat up. I could move again. The thing was gone. But something was different. This time I could still feel its hand, like a frostbite burn on my skin. I looked in the mirror and saw a red mark, 5 fingers, etched into my chest like a bruise. That was the moment I decided to leave. I packed a bag that morning, called my sister, and begged her to let me stay with her for a while. She didn't ask too many questions. I never went back to that apartment. I've never had another sleep paralysis episode since, but sometimes, when I lie in bed, half asleep, I swear I feel something cold in the room. Just for a second. Like it's waiting. Like it followed me. And that's why I still sleep with the light on. I never used to believe in sleep paralysis. I thought it was just some exaggerated phenomenon people used to explain nightmares. That changed in 2021 during a work trip to Cincinnati. I work in logistics. Not exactly the most thrilling field, but it keeps me on the move. I had to attend a 3-day conference and was put up in a business-class hotel just outside downtown. Nothing fancy, but it had solid reviews and was supposedly quiet. I checked in late on a Sunday around 10:30 p.m. It was January, cold and still, with that strange silence cities get when the snow dampens everything. The room was fine, clean, dimly lit, a little dated maybe, but the heater worked and the bed was massive. I threw my bag down, set an early alarm, and called my wife to say goodnight. I remember telling her, "It's quiet, almost too quiet," half joking. She laughed and told me not to get weird. We hung up, and I passed out within minutes. That first night was normal. It was the second night that changed everything. I went to sleep around midnight, lights off, phone charging on the desk across the room. No TV. I was exhausted but weirdly uneasy, like something was off with the room. Not anything I could point to, just a feeling. At some point in the middle of the night, I woke up, but I couldn't move. At first, I thought I was just in a deep sleep. My body felt heavy, glued to the bed. I tried shifting my fingers, but they wouldn't respond. Then my eyes fully opened and I knew something was wrong. I was awake, very awake. I could see everything around me in the dark, the vague outline of the TV stand, the light blinking from the smoke detector, the faint amber glow from the street lamp outside the window. Everything was still, and then I saw it. There was someone standing in the corner of the room. I swear to God! At first, I told myself it was a shadow cast by the lamp outside, maybe something hanging awkwardly on the coat rack, but as my eyes adjusted, I could make out the outline. It wasn't hanging. It was tall, way too tall. The head almost touched the ceiling. Its shoulders were hunched, arms long and dangling. It wasn't moving, just standing there, facing me. I couldn't scream. My mouth wouldn't open. I tried yelling, tried groaning. Nothing came out. I was frozen in place, staring at this thing, panic building like fire in my chest. Then it moved. Slowly, it didn't walk. It glided, like it was on wheels or hovering an inch off the floor, silent, effortless. It approached the foot of the bed and just stood there, staring. I couldn't see a face, just blackness, but I could feel it watching me, studying me. I couldn't breathe properly. My chest was tight. My heart was slamming inside my ribs. Every part of my brain was screaming to move anything to break the moment. But nothing worked. And then it leaned forward. Its hand reached up, long skeletal fingers, and touched my foot. I felt it, cold, real. And just like that, I woke up, sat bolt upright in bed, drenched in sweat. The room was empty. It was 3:14 a.m. The next morning, I told myself it was just a dream. Stress, poor sleep. Maybe I had a sleep disorder I didn't know about. I went about my day pretending nothing had happened. But something about the room felt different now. When I came back after the second day of the conference, the cleaning crew had done their job. Room was spotless. But there was something small on the desk. A coin. Old, worn. It wasn't mine. I picked it up. It had no visible markings, just a weird symbol that looked vaguely like an eye. It was heavy, unnaturally cold. I didn't even remember seeing it during the day. Had it been there when I checked in? Had someone left it? I tossed it in my suitcase and forgot about it. For a while. That night I slept with the bathroom light on, just in case. Didn't help. It started again around 2:50 a.m. Same thing, woke up, couldn't move. But this time the shadow was already standing beside the bed. Closer. No time to adjust, no slow approach. It was right there, inches from my face. And this time, I heard it. A clicking noise, like bones snapping or teeth chattering, rapid, irregular. It bent forward again, hovering just above me. Its fingers brushed the side of my face, ice cold, and then it did something I can barely describe. It laughed. Not loud, not cartoonish. A raspy, wet sound that shook me more than anything else. And then its face started to change. It shifted, warped, became my face, my exact face. Same eyes, same expression of terror. It was me, staring down at myself. I blacked out. I woke up hours later, well past checkout. My phone was dead. I rushed to pack, heart racing, palms sweating. When I opened my suitcase to throw in my clothes, the coin was gone. I never saw it again. For months after, I couldn't sleep through the night. I developed insomnia, constant anxiety. I went to sleep clinics, therapists. No one could explain it. I avoided hotels completely, even started skipping work trips. But every now and then, about once a month, I get sleep paralysis again. And the shadow is always there. Closer each time. I've stopped sleeping entirely on some nights, just to avoid it. But eventually, I pass out. And when I do, I feel it standing next to me, waiting. I never believed in sleep paralysis. To me, it was one of those strange, vaguely scientific things people brought up to explain nightmares. Like rematonia or something you hear on a podcast and forget about later. I assumed it was exaggerated. Or at worst, it was some quirky brain hiccup. Something other people experienced. Not me, until 3 months ago. Now, I dread going to sleep. Not because of the nightmares, but because of what waits when I'm stuck between being awake and asleep. Frozen, breathing hard, eyes open. Because whatever's been happening to me lately, it isn't just in my head. It started on a Thursday night. Nothing special had happened that day. I had my usual remote work grind, video calls, Excel sheets, leftover pasta. I'd been pulling late nights all week trying to meet deadlines, so by 1 a.m., I was practically sleepwalking to bed. My room was dark except for the faint streetlight glow bleeding in through the blinds. I remember lying down and scrolling through my phone, typical doom scroll routine. Then I must have just dozed off, phone still in my hand. What I remember next wasn't a dream. It was like I'd snapped awake but couldn't move at all. My body felt like concrete. I couldn't lift my arms, couldn't even wiggle my fingers. But my eyes were open. I could see the faint lines of light across the ceiling from the blinds. Everything was dead silent. No cars outside, no ticking, not even the hum of the fridge, just this oppressive silence pressing down on me. I tried to move, to scream. Nothing. And then, I felt something in the room. You know how you can just tell when someone's standing behind you? Even if they don't make a sound? That dense, pressurized awareness? That's what it felt like. Something was in the corner of my room, just standing there. I couldn't see it clearly, not at first, just a vague human shape, tall, almost stretched looking. I told myself it was my jacket on the chair, shadows playing tricks. But then it moved. Not walked, not shifted. It sort of, unfolded. Like its limbs were too long for its body, and it had to stretch them out just to stand upright. The air in the room grew heavy. The pressure in my chest built so intensely I thought I was having a heart attack. I was still paralyzed, just lying there, eyes wide open, watching this thing start moving slowly toward my bed. Then, just as it got close enough for me to make out the glint of its eyes, snap. I could move again. I gasped so hard it felt like I'd come up from drowning, shot upright, flipped on the lamp, and turned toward the corner. Nothing. My jacket was there, just like I'd thought. Room empty, same as always. I sat there shaking for probably 15 minutes before I convinced myself it had been a dream. It kept happening. Not every night. That would have been easier to predict. Sometimes it was 2 nights in a row, then nothing for a week, then 3 nights in a row, then once a month. And every time it was worse. Always the same thing. That heavy silence, that paralysis, that figure in the corner. But it started changing. It got closer each time. By the 4th episode, it wasn't in the corner anymore. It was right next to my bed, bent over, watching me. I could feel its breath against my cheek, smell something metallic and rotting. Its face was wrong, too symmetrical, eyes like polished stones, bulging. And I swear on my life, during one episode, it whispered something. Not in a language I knew, just low, guttural sounds right in my ear, like it was trying to get inside my head. I started dreading sleep. I stayed up for days, tried sleeping on the couch, at a friend's house, drank, took melatonin, went off caffeine. Nothing worked. The paralysis episodes followed me wherever I went. Then came the night I stopped thinking it was just sleep paralysis. I'd spent the weekend with my sister, hoping a change of scenery would help. I was too embarrassed to tell her why, just said I'd been having bad dreams. Sunday night, I got back to my apartment and passed out on the couch. I woke up, same thing, paralyzed, eyes open. But this time was different. I could hear something scratching. Not in the room. Inside the walls, it started behind my head, then above, then to the left. Like something was crawling through the insulation. I could hear it moving. And then, this part I still can't explain. I heard my own voice whisper something. From inside the wall, it was my voice. But I wasn't speaking. And it whispered, "Let me out." I thought I was going insane. I remember crying, not even knowing if the tears were real. I felt like I was cracking in half from the inside. Then, once again, snap, I could move. I bolted off the couch and stood in the middle of my apartment, shaking. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I went to a sleep specialist. I told her everything. She was calm, professional, told me it sounded like textbook sleep paralysis, though very intense. She ordered a sleep study, said I'd stay overnight in their lab, hooked up to monitors, and they'd see what was going on. That made me feel better. Science, doctors, monitors, logic. The sleep study was scheduled for the following Friday night. I counted the days. Here's where things really broke apart. The night before the sleep study, I got a visit. I hadn't even gone to bed yet. I was sitting at my desk, writing an email, when I heard a knock at the door. 3 soft knocks. But here's the thing. They didn't come from the front door. They came from my bedroom closet. I froze. Another 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate, from inside the closet door. I stared at it, not breathing. My whole body was cold. I backed out of the room and left every light on in the apartment. Slept with the TV blaring and my back to the wall. No paralysis that night, just waiting. The next night, I went to the sleep center. It was a small clinic, clean and sterile. They wired me up with electrodes, monitored my breathing, heart rate, eye movement, the works. They put me in a quiet room with a single bed and told me to relax. I didn't want to sleep. I was terrified. But the room was so cold and quiet, and I was so tired. I must have nodded off around 2 a.m. When I woke up, I knew it was happening again. But this time was different, worse. This time I wasn't just paralyzed. I felt like I was being crushed, like something had its hands around my ribs and was squeezing. And when I opened my eyes, it was there, on the ceiling, crawling like a spider, its head twisted backward, staring at me upside down, mouth open in a wide, silent scream. No teeth, just black. And the worst part? I looked at the monitor in the corner, the one tracking my brain waves, and the screen was black. No lights, no data, no sign that anything was recording. I couldn't scream. I couldn't blink. And then it dropped from the ceiling, not fell, dropped straight down, and slammed onto my chest. I thought I was going to die. Then I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. The sleep tech said they had incomplete data from the night, some kind of malfunction, said they'd only captured the first hour before the system stopped recording. I asked if they'd seen anything unusual, any spikes in heart rate or movement. They looked at me like I was crazy. Nope, you barely moved all night. Resting heart rate was consistent. No disruptions. I didn't argue. I just went home. I haven't been back since. The last time it happened, 2 weeks ago, was the final straw. This time it wasn't a figure in the room. It was inside me. I woke up in paralysis again, but I couldn't see anything. My vision was gone. Like my eyes were open, but someone had draped black velvet over my face. Then I heard breathing, not mine, coming from inside my own head. Every breath I took, something else breathed with me, mimicked me, like it was learning how to be me. And then a voice whispered from behind my eyes, "You're the dream now!" Just like that. Calm, cold, final. And I felt something detach, not physically, more like a part of me peeled off, and something else slid into place. When I snapped awake, I was standing in the hallway, facing the mirror. I didn't remember getting up. I stared at myself for a long time. Something looked wrong, not obvious, just off, like my eyes didn't quite belong to me anymore. I haven't had a paralysis episode since, but every time I look in the mirror, I feel like someone else is looking back, like the thing that used to stand at the foot of my bed is now behind my eyes, and it's waiting.